Rama's swarthy form was naturally graceful, his beauty put to shame millions of cupids, dyed with red legs, his lotus feet, with which ever attracted the bee-like minds of the sage, looked most lovely. His sackers and charming yellow loin cloths outshone the rising sun as well as the lightning. The girdle round his waist, together with the sweet sounding smell small bells, was so enchanting. His long arms were adorned with beautiful ornaments. The yellow checkered thread greatly enhanced his charms, while the ring on his finger would ravish all hearts. Beautified with all sort of weddings adornments, he looked most charming. His broad chest was adorned with appropriate ornaments. He had a yellow scarf with fringes of pearls and gems slung partially under his right armpit and partially across his left shoulder. He had a pair of lotus like eyes and beautiful pendants dangling from the lobes of his ears, while his countenance was a storehouse of all comeliness. He had lovely eyebrows and a charming nose, while the sacred mark on his forehead was an abode of loveliness, and his head was adorned with beautiful wedding crown, which had auspicious pearls and gems shrunk together and woven into it. Precious gems had been strung together and woven into lovely wedding crown, and each of his limbs ravished the heart at the sight of the bridegroom Shri Rama. The women of the city, as well as pretty celestial ladies, all tore blade of grass in order to avert the evil eye. After scattering about his gems, raiments, and ornaments, they waved light around him and sang festal songs. The gods rained down flowers, while bards, panegyrists, and rhapsodists uttered his praises. Married women whose husbands were alive happily brought the bride and bridegroom to the apartment reversed for the tutelary deities, and with festal songs they most lovingly began to perform customary rites. Goddess Gauri, Goddess Gauri herself taught Rama how to offer a morsel of food to Sita, while Sharda urged Sita to do likewise with Rama. The whole Gynecum was absorbed in the delight of merrymaking. Everyone enjoyed the fruit of her birth. In the gems on her hand, Janki saw the reflection of Sri Rama, the repository of beauty, and she dared not move her arm on eye for fear of losing sight on him. The rapture and love that characterized the gaiety and mirth of the occasion surpassed all telling. Sita's companions alone knew them. They escorted all the four charming couples to the palace assigned to the king Dasharatha and his party. At that moment, blessings might be heard on all sides, and there was great exultation in the city as well as in the heavens. Everyone exclaimed with delighted heart, "Long live the four lovely couples!" Great yogis, siddhas, eminent sages, and the divinities sounded their kettle drums on beholding the Lord, and raining down flowers and crying, "Victory, victory, victory!" They gladly returned each of his own limbs. Then all the four princes with their brides approached their father. It appeared at that time as if the longing of the bridegroom's party overflowed with beauty, felicity, and joy. Then there was a banquet with a rich variety of dishes, to which Janka invited all the members of the bridegroom party. Carpets of incomparable beauty were spread on the way as King Dasharatha sailed forth with his sons. The feet of all were reverently washed, and then They were seated on wooden seats according to their rank. Janka laved the feet of Dasharatha, king of Ayodhya. His courtesy and affection were past telling. He then bathed Sri Rama's lotus feet that are enshrined in the lotus-like heart of Shiva. Similarly, he washed with his own hands the feet of the other three brothers also, treating them on a par with Sri Rama. King Janka assigned an appropriate seat to each guest and sent for all the cook for service. Leave joined together so as the serve or plate were set before the guest with due reverence. Leave which were made of precious stones and had been joined with gold pins. Clever and polite cooks passed around, and in a thrice they served all with curry and boiled rice mixed with clarified butter extracted from the cow's milk, all of which were pleasing and delicious and had been cooked with purity. Taking the five initial morsels as an oblation for the five vital air, the guests commenced dining and were enraptured to hear song full of raillery, confections of various kinds, sweet as ambrosia, and more delicious than one could describe, were served to them. Expert cooks then began to serve a variety of seasons articles which were too numerous to be named. Of the four categories of food mentioned in the scripture, that which can be directly swallowed, that which must be masticated before it can be gulped, number 3, that which can be licked with the tongue, and that which can be sucked, each comprised an indescribable variety of dishes. Similarly, there were seasoned dishes of the various kinds, having 6 different flavors, each flavor being exhibited in numberless varieties. As the dinner was in progress, women railed in melodious strain at man and woman both, mentioning each by name. Even railway at an opportunity time is agreeable and welcome. King Dasharatha and his whole party felt amused to hear it. In this way, the whole party dined, and in the end of they were all reverently supplied with water to rise their mouth with. Offering betel leaves in due form, Janka paid his homage to King Dasharatha and his company. Offering betel leaves due from Janka paid the homage to King Dasharatha and his company, and the crown of all monarchs, Dasharatha retired to his own apartment with a cheerful heart. Everyone there was a new festival in the city. Day and night passed like a moment. The jail of King Dasharatha woke up with. Every day there was a new festival in the city. Days and nights passed like a moment. The jail of King Dasharatha woke up at the very early hour, and mendicants began to sing his praises. As they gazed upon the princess with the beautiful brides, the rapture of their soul was beyond all telling. Having finished his mo- having finished his morning routine, he called him his homage. The king with joint warmth addressed addressed him in a voice stepped as it were in nectar. Listen, O chief of Raghu, Every day there was a new festival in the city, day and night in the city. Day and night passed like a moment. The jail of King Dasharatha woke up at very early hours, and mendicants began to sing his praises as they gazed upon the princes with their beautiful brides. The rapture of his soul was beyond all telling. Having finished his morning routine, he called on his guru with a heart full of executions and love, making obeisance to him and paying him his homage. The king, with joined palm, addressed him in a voice steeped as it were in nectar. Listen, O chief of Sikh, by your grace, I have realized all my ambitions today. Now, summoning all the Brahmins, O holy king, present them with cow adorned in everyone. On hearing these words, the preceptor applauded the king and then sent for the troops of Sikhs. Then came Vamadeva, the celestial Sikhs, Narada, Valmiki, Jabeli, Vishwamitra, and host of other great Sikhs given to austerities. The king threw himself upon the ground before them all and worshipping them with love offered them seat of honor. Next he sent for 4 lakhs of cows, all as gentle and beautiful as the cow of plenty, and adoring them all in every possible way, he gladly bestowed them upon the Brahmins. The king supplicated them in many ways and said, it is only today that I have attained the fruit of my existence. The delight of the solar race was glad to receive their blessings and then sent for beggars and bestowed on them according to their liking gold, wearing apparels, jewels, horses, elephants, and carrots, singing the king praises and saying, glory, glory, all glory to the Lord of the solar race. They all went away in this way. The rejoicing in connection with Sri Rama's wedding was more than the thousands mounted serpent king could tell. Again and again the king bowed his head at the feet of Kaushika and said, all this joy, O chief of Sikh, is a gift of your gracious look. King Dasharatha extolled in every way Janaka's affection, amiability, affluence, and doing. Every morning the king of Ayodhya asked leave to return home, but each time Janaka would lovingly detain them. The royal guest received greater and enhanced attention from the day to day and was entertained in the thousandth way each day. The city witnessed a new rejoicing and festivity every day. No one likened the Shratha's departure. In this way, a number of days passed as though members of the bridegroom party were tied by a cord of love. The Sikh Kaushika and Satananda then called on King Videha and advised him, saying, now you must let the Shratha go, even though you may not be able to part with him out of love. Very well, my lord, replied the king, and sent for his ministers, who came and bestowed their hats, saying, may you be victorious, may you live long. The king of Ayodhya, longing locks to depart when he is known in Gainakam. These words, the ministers, Brahmans, courtiers, as well as the king himself were overwhelmed with emotion. When the couple of the city heard that the bridegroom party was leaving, they anxiously asked one another if it were a fact. When they learned that the departure of the guest was certain, they were all sad in the same way as lotuses get shriveled up in the evening. Provisions of various kinds were sent to all those places where the bridegroom party had halted while coming from Ayodhya. Dry fruits and the confections of all kinds and other articles of food too numerous to be mentioned were sent by Janka on the back of oxen and through numberless porters along with a number of beautiful bedsheets. He also sent 1 lakh horses and 25,000 carrots, all decorated with top to bottom. 10,000 10,000 adorned elephant in that put to shame the elephant gardening the 8 quarter. Besides cardboard of gold, wearing apparels and jewels, and even so sheep of sheep, buffaloes, cows, and many other articles of the various kinds. In this way, King Vidya gave once more a dowry which was immeasurable and beyond all telling, and before which the wealth possessed by the Lord of the difference world looked small. Having got all the equipage arranged in the order mentioning above, Janka had everything dispatched to Ayodhya. When the queen heard that the bridegroom party was about to start, they all felt miserable, even as fish when faced with shortage of water. Again and again they took Sita in their lap and blessed and exhorted her in the following words: May you be ever beloved of your Lord, and may you live along with him. This is our blessings. Severe the parent of your husband, serve the parents of your husband and other elders, and do the bidding of your Lord according to his pleasures. In their excess of love, Sita, clever companions too, taught her the duties of housewife in the soft accents. The queen politely admonished all the other princes too, and clasped them to their bosoms again and again. And as the mother embraced their daughter time and again, they exclaimed, Did Brahma ever created a woman? That very moment did Rama, the chief of the solar race, greatly proceeded along with his brother to Janka's palace to king the birds brides because bride along with them. The people of the city, both man and woman, ran to see the 4 brothers who were naturally lovely, said once they intended leaving today. King Vidya had made all arrangements for their farewell, so let your eyes drink in their beauty. The 4 princes has been our most welcome guest. Who knows, who knows, friends, what virtuous deed we have performed, in return to which Providence has unexpectedly the people of the city, both man and woman, ran to see the 4 brothers who were naturally lovely, said once, They intend leaving today. King Vidya had made all the arrangement for their farewell, so let your eyes drink in their beauty. The 4 princes have been our most welcome guests. Who knows, friends, what virtuous deed we have performed, in return for which Providence has unexpectedly brought them before our eyes, even as a dying man should stumble on nectar, or he who has been serving all his life should be able to discover a wish eating tree, or as one of the damned in the hell should attend to the abode of Sri Hari. Even so we been have we been blessed with their sight. Gaze on Sri Rama's beauty and treasure. It is your heart. Let your mind fondly cherish his image even as a serpent god. The gems in the hood, thus delighting the eyes of all the four princes went to the royal palace. The ladies of Gynecum were transported with joy to behold the four brothers who were ocean of beauty as it were, and the mother-in-law in their ecstatic mood scattered gifts and went and waved light about the bridegroom. Greatly moved at the sight of Sri Rama's beauty, they affectionately fell at his feet again and again, their heart being wrapped in love. The feeling of shyness had bid them adieu. How could the natural affection for his son-in-law be described? After anointing the body of Sri Rama and his brother with urgent, they were given a bath and were most lovingly entertained with dishes containing the six flavors. Finding it a suitable opportunity, Sri Rama spoke in accurate, full of amiability, affection, and modesty. Our royal father intend leaving of for Ayodhya and has sent us here to take leave of you. Therefore, mothers, grant us permission with a cheerful mind and ever regarded as with your affection as your own children. The ladies of the Gynecum, cheerful mind, ever regarded as with her own children. The ladies of the Gynecum were distressed to hear these words. The mother-in-law were too overwhelmed with emotion to speak a word. They clasped all the princes to their bosoms, and while giving them to their lord, made humble submissions to them. With humble submissions, Queen Sunaina committed Sita to Rama, and with joint palm prayed again and again. It with humble submission, Queen Sunaina committed Sita to Rama, and with joint palms prayed again and again. I offer myself as sacrifice to you, my all-wise darling. You know what passes in the mind of all. May you know that Sita is dearer than life itself to the whole family, nay, to the entire population of the city, much more to me and to her royal father. Therefore, considering her meekness and affection, O Lord of Tulsi, treat her as your maid servants. You have your business ever fulfilled. You are the creased jewel of the wise, and it is love alone that attracts you. You perceive only the good points of your devotee. Your erections that weakness and are our bond of the mercy, Rama. So the queen remained clinging to his feet. It seemed if her speech had been lost in the quicksand of love. On hearing her fine speech, which was full of affection, Sri Rama honored his mother-in-law in many more than others, which was so saying, the queen remained clinging to his feet. It seemed as if her speech had been lost in the quickness of love. Quicksand. On hearing her fine speech, which was full of affection, Sri Ram honored his mother-in-law in many more than once. While seeking her permission with joint palms, he made obeisance to her again and again. Having received her blessings, the Lord of Raghuveer bestowed his head once more, and the departed with his brothers, treasuring up in their heart Sri Rama, lovely and beautiful image, all the quarters were overcome with emotions. They, recovering themselves, they caught their daughter and embraced them again and again. They escorted them to some distance and embraced them once more. The love on the both sides swelled to a considerable extent. While meeting their daughter again and again, they were parted by the companions of the princess, even as a cow who has just brought forth a calf may be parted from the latter. All men and women, including the companions of the princess and the ladies of the Gynecum, were overpowered by emotion. It seemed as if pathos and the parenting of lovers had taken up their abode in the capital of Videha. The parrot and Mana who had been reared by Princess the parrot and Manas who had been reared by Princess Janki and having been kept in the cage of gold has been taught to speak, cried in distress, "Where is the Videha's daughter?" On hearing their will, who would have the patience to stand at the night when birds and beasts were distressed in this way? How can one how can one depict the feeling of the human being? Then came King Janka with the younger brother Kushu Devajna. Due to excess of emotion, tears rushed to his eyes. Although he was raptured to be the man of supreme dispassion, his strength of mind took leave of him the moment he gazed on Sita. The king clasped Janki to his bosom, and the great embankment of wisdom topped down. All his wisdom counselors admonished him, and realizing that it was no occasion for wailing, the king recovered himself again and again. He passed his daughters to his bosoms and ordered beautiful and well equipped palkis to be bought. The whole family was overwhelmed with emotion. Yet perceiving that a auspicious moment had arrived, the king invoked Lord Ganesha and his consort Siddhi and helped the princess to ascend the palkis. King Janka admonished his daughter in various ways, more than one, and instructed them in the duties of women as well as family customs. He bestowed upon Sita a good many men servants and maid servants who had been trusted and favorite tenders. As she proceeded on her journey, the citizen felt miserable, while good omens, which were as King Janka admonished, as she proceeded on her accompanied by the crowd. When it was found that the time of departure had come, music began to play, and the members of the bridegroom party made ready their carrots, elephants, and the horses. King Dasharatha sent to all the Brahmins and seated them with gifts and courtesy. The king places the dust of their lotus feet on his head and was glad to receive their benedictions. Invoking the elephant headed Ganesha, he set out of his journey when many good omens, which were the food of felicity, available. The gods gladly rained down flowers and heavenly knives, saying, as the Lord of Ayodhya joys fully set forth for his capital amidst the clash of the cattle drum. King Dashrath politely persuaded the respectable citizens to retire. King Dashrath politely pressured the respectable citizens to retire, and having reverently called all the mendicants and bestowed of them ornaments and the cloth as well as horse and elephant, and seating them with and his horse and elephant, and they sitting sailing setting them with love, he made them all officious by horse and elephant, and setting them with love. With love, he made them all the self-supporting, glorifying the king again and again. They all returned with Sri Rama in their heart, the Lord of Ayodhya, importunate Sri Ram, 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 Sri Ram. Like once more, King Dasharatha addressed him in polite terms. I beg you to turn back, O king. You have already came for an nosh. At least King Dasharatha get direction. The king spoke with joint palms and the axes embedded with the then spoke King Yudhisthira with joint palms and his assets limbed with the nectar of love. How at it may word should I made my supplication to the king of Kaushala showed every respect to their father. King of Kaushala showed every respect to the father of the bride and his relative Janaki. The king Kaushala showed every respect to the king of Kaushala showed every respect to the father of the bride and his relative Janka. The embrace in which they held each other was characterized by utmost humility, and their the king of Kaushala showed every respect to the father of the bride and his relative Janka. The embrace in which they have rided. King Janka bowed his head to the feet. King Janka bowed his head to the throng of Sikhs and King Janka bowed his head to the throng of Sikhs and received blessings from them all. Next, he reverently embraced the son-in-law, the four brothers, each of mind of beauty, amiability, and goodness, and joining his graceful lotus heads, he spoke in assent, for begotten of love as it were. How can I extol you, Rama, supporting as you do in the heart of Sikh as well as in King Jinka poured his head in the throng of Sikhs and received blessings from them all. Next, he reverently embraced his son-in-law. The four brothers, each a merit of beauty, amiability, and goodness, and joining his graceful lotus hand, he rose to the sea. Spoke in essence begun of great. How can I extol you, Shri Rama, supporting as you do in the heart of Sikh, as well as on the great Lord Shiva, like a swan in the Mansarovara lake, that for whose sake yogis, those gives the contemplation, practice yoga, contemplation, renouncing anger, infatuation, the feeling of meme and pride. The all-pervading Brahma, renouncing anger, infatuation, the feeling of mumes and pride. The all-pervading Brahma, absolute, who is imperceptible and imperishable, the embodiment of consciousness and bliss, attributeless and simultaneously possessing divine quality, who is beyond the ken of speech and mind, who is past all auspicious, but in order referred by feeling of mumes and the all-pervading Brahma, absolute, who is imperceptible and imperishable, the embodiment of consciousness and bliss, attributeless and simultaneously possessing a divine quality, who is the beyond the ken of speech and mind, who is the past of supplication, but is only inferred by all and who is the same at all times. That source of joy has appeared before my eyes. Everything is easy to access in the world to the living being when God is propitious. You have exalted me in every way and accepted me as your own servant. If there were 10,000 Shardas and Shesha, and if they were to count the millions of kalpas, the tale of my good fortune, I tell you, and the record of my virtue could not be exhausted. O Lord of Raghu, I make bold to say something on the strength of my conviction that you are pleased with the slightest devotions. I repeatedly beseech you with joined palms that my mind may never be deluded into deserting your feet. On hearing these polite words saturated with love, Sri Rama, who had all this desire fulfilled, felt gratified. You have exalted me in every way. That source of joy, God is propitious. You have exalted me, Sharda and Shesha, if there she could not be exhausted. O Lord of Raghu, I make bold to say something on the strength of my conviction that you are pleased with the slightest devotion. I repeatedly beseech you with joined palm that my mind may never be deluded into deserting your feet. On hearing these polite words, saturated with love, Sri Rama, who had all of his desire fulfilled, felt gratified with the greatest courtesy. The latter honored his father-in-law, treating him on a par with his own father, Kaushika or Vashishta Shriram. The king then humbly approached Bharata and embracing him with affection, gave him the blessings. You have exalted me in every way and accepted me as your own servant. If there were 10,000 Shardas and Shesha, and if they were to count for the millions of kalpas, the tale of my good fortune I tell you, and the record of my virtue could not be exalted. O Lord of Raghu, I made bold to say something on the strength of my conviction that you are pleased with the slightest devotions. I repeatedly beseech you with joined palm that my mind may never be deluded into deserting your feet. On hearing these polite words, saturated with love, Sri Rama, who had all his desires fulfilled, felt gratified with the greatest courtesy of letter, honored his father-in-law, treating him on par with his own father Kaushika or Vasishta. The king then humbly approached Bharata and embracing him with affection gave him his blessings. Next, the king embraced and blessed Lakshmana and Ripusudna. Overpowered with emotion, they bowed their head to one another again and again. Paying his respectful compliments to Janaka again and again, the lord of Raghu set out of his journey with his three brothers. Janaka approached Kaushika, clasped his feet, and put the dust on the same on his head and eyes. He said, "Listen, O Lord of Sikhs, to him who has been blessed with your sight, nothing is unattainable. Such is my marriage party convictions, the joy and the bright renown the which the regional lord of the virtue long to have, but feel too diffident to expect. Such a joy and glory has been brought within my reach, and all the achievements follow on seeing you." In these words, King Janaka made humble submissions to Vishwamitra, bowing his head again and returned after receiving his blessings. The people started on its return journey to the sound of the kettle drums. All the sections, both big and small, were transported with joy. Men and women of the village, as they gazed on Sri Rama, felt gratified on realizing the object of their eyes. Halting at convenient stage in course of the journey and gladdening the people of the roadside, the marriage processions approached Ayodhya on a sacred day. Kettle drums were beaten and good tabor sounded, accompanied by blast of the suckbutts and conches and the neighing of horses and trampling of elephants. Similar, there was a clash of cymbals and drums, which clarinets played sweet tunes. The citizens were all delighted to hear the processions coming. The hair on their bodies stood erect. They all decorated their own beautiful houses as well as the market, street, square, and gated of the city. All the lanes were watered with perfume. Here and there, feaster squares were filled in which elegant wise the bazaars was beautified beyond all description with festal arches, flags, bananas, and canopies. Trees of the arka nut, the planet, the mango, the bakula, the kadamba, and the tamsa were transplanted along with their fruit. The beautiful tree thus planted together the ground on account of their being laden with fruits. They had basins of precious stones constructed around them with exquisite skill. Crystal vases of the various kinds were ranged in order in every house. Brahma and the other gods were filled with envy to see the birthplace of Sri Rama, the chief of Raghus. The king placed looked very charming on that occasion. It its decorations captivated the heart of Cupid himself. It proved that if the specious woman and the loveliness affuses and mystic powers, joy and smiling prosperity and all kinds of rejoicing had assumed a naturally beautiful form and taken their abode in the place of the king Dasharatha. Tell me who would not feel tempted to have a look at Sri Rama and Videha's daughter. Married women whose husbands were alive sailed forth in troops, even eclipsing love's consort Rati by her beauty. They all carried articles of the good omens and were equipped with light for waving round the bridegroom as they moved along, singing all the way. It appeared is the goddess Bharti, the goddess of peace, has appeared in so many forms. The king's palace was full of hilarious tumult. In the joy of their occasions was ineffable. Kaushalya and other mothers of Sri Rama were so overwhelmed with emotion that had forgot their own body. After worshipping Lord Ganesha and the slayer of the demon Tripura, they bestowed enormous gifts upon the Brahmins and were supremely delighted as an utterly indigent man who had attained the four great prizes of life. All the mothers were so overcome with joy and rapture that their feet refuses to walk and all their limbs begin to drop as it were, full of intense longing for sight of Sri Rama. They begin to get everything ready for the reception of their sons. Music of every kind started playing, while Sumitra gladly got together articles of the good omens such as turmeric, blade of durva grass, curds, ordinary leaves, flowers, betel leaves, actonus, auspicious roots, unbroken rice, sprouts of barley, goranjancha, parched paddy, and lovely blossoms of their basil plants. Exceedingly charming gold vases painted with various colors look like nests built by Cupid's own birds. A specious perfume defies all description. In this way, all the queens prepare all sorts of the auspicious article. They got ready row of light arranged in various devices for weaving around their sons and with a cheerful heart sing melodious whistle strain carrying in their lotus-like sleeves of gold, laden with articles of good omen. The queen mothers possessed joyfully to greet their sons, ceremoniously every limbs of their body throbbing with emotion. The sky became dark with the future of burning incense, as though overhung by the fast gathering cloud of the month of Shravana. The god rained down wreath of flowers from the trees of paradise, which looked like a rows of herons in their graceful light. Lovely festoons made of the jewel of jewel looks like rainbows appearing in the row, charming and volatile is appearing on house top as quickly on disappearing as at ease looked like flashes of light. The beat of the cattle drum resembled the cry of uh, the beat of the drum of the crash of the thunder, while beggars were as clamorous as the chakura birds, frogs, and peacocks. The god poured down showers in the form of Sakar's perfume, which gladdened the heart, gladdened the crop in the form of all citizens. Perceiving that the propitious hour has arrived, the preceptor Vashishta gave the words, and the jewel of Raghuresh, King Dasharatha gladly entered the city with all his followers, fixing his mind on Bhagwan Shambhu, goddess Parvati, and their sons, Lord Ganesha. God Ganesha, good omen when feasted themselves in the god rained down flowers to the beat of the castle, while celestial dames dance for joy, singing the melodious temple song. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Bard, minister, rapodist, and the skilled dancer chanted the glory of him, Sri Rama, who illuminated all of these words. Auspicious, hairly sounds and the sakats and the melodious chanting of Vedas were heard in all the 10 directions. Musical instruments of all kind began to play. Gods in heaven and the men in the city were enraptured alike. Members of the bridegroom party looked smart beyond description. They were highly delighted and could not contain themselves for joy. The people of Ayodhya then greeted the king and were gladdened at very sight of Sri Rama. They circled about him, jewels and vestments. Their eyes were full of tears, and the body thrilled over. The women of the city gladly waved light around his head and rejoiced to see the four noble princes. They were all the more gratified when they lifted the curtain of the beauty palki. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. The shakers about his jewels and vestments, the eyes were full of tears, and the women of the city gladly waved light round his head and rejoicing to see four noble princes. They were all most gratified when they lifted the curtain of beautiful palki and behold the bride. Thus gladdening the heart of all, they arrived at the entrance of the royal palace. The delightful mother, weaving light round Thus gladdening the heart of all, they arrived at the entrance of the royal palace. The delight mother waved light over the princes and their brides. The waves light again and again. The love and rapture which they felt in their heart was beyond all words. They suckers about their sons and daughter-in-law, ornaments, jewels, and the costume of the various kinds and the numberless other articles. The queen mother They wanted light again and again. The love and rapture which they felt in their heart was beyond the world. They secors about their sons and daughter-in-laws, ornament, jewels, and costume of various kinds, and numberless other articles. The queen's mother were enraptured to behold their fortune along with the bride, as they gazed again and again on the beauty of Sita, and as they felt delighted and regarded the object of realized. The queen's mother companion as they gazed on Sita's countenance over and over again, saying and extolled their good fortune moment after moment. The god rained down flowers, danced and sang and offered their homage. Seeing the four charming couples, goddess Sharda accents all her stocks of similes, but her choice fell on none. They appeared to travel. She therefore gazing on unwinking eyes and chanting with their beauty. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Page number 356. 1 4 Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram.